And world building is something I really love. And working on the story that I'm working on right now, I love the world building. I'm like, I can't write the dialogue or any of that, but world building, figuring that all out with magic systems and all that fun stuff, it's been so much fun.
Have you ever thought of being a DM for D&D? Kind of a tangent, but like...
I have not. We're going to be talking about D&D on this show because I really wanted to learn more about it. And one of my roommates is into D&D. So my roommate's like, you could technically DM. I was like, yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing, but...
I mean, there's like the rolling the dice and all the technical stuff, but the people who I talk to who really, really enjoy DMs or really, really enjoy DMing are the ones who really enjoy world building and creating like a story and a world and like, you know, like magic system and all that fun stuff to be able to like create a fun environment for all of your players. So
yeah, no,
I don't know, when you were just talking about like world building and how you enjoyed it, I was like, oh, James might really enjoy being a DM on D&D.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was talking to my friend about this. Basically a quick recap of what this show would be about. Urban, fantasy, magic, stuff like that. But I was talking to him about the idea of possibly doing a Dungeons and Dragons campaign with this story and then taking what happens in those campaigns and like writing it into the story.
That would be cool. Yeah, creating like almost an animation based off of the D&D campaign.
Yeah, and there's been people that have done that before.
There have those things that have come up, but they're cool. They're all like really cool, and they're like successful.
And I think that would be a really cool way once I have the world all built and stuff, just to kind of play a campaign in it. So I don't know, maybe I'll be the DM for that.
I mean, it's cool too because it's not just your idea. Like you create the environment in the world, and like the players create the story.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah, and that's the part I really want. I really want to see because I really love stories where different people can kind of put in their input. When it's just one person working on a story, sometimes it's not as vastly different. It's like the same thing. So yeah. So getting into world building, you have
back to Luca.
back to Luca, the Dungeons and Dragons campaign of Luca. You got Porto Rosso, which is this port city. You got Vespas, and you got all this stuff going on. So first, starting out with the world building, Pixar does really well in introducing you to these ideas and these worlds as the movie is starting, or even before you've seen the movie. One thing is with trailers, but also with the movies that came before, because as you guys know with Pixar movies, you always got that reference. And in Soul, they had a reference to Porto Rosso.
I never watched Soul.
Oh, really? It was a really good movie.
I always saw like people like watching it around me, but I was like, I don't want to watch it like halfway in between. I'll just watch it around, and I never did.
We'll have to watch it sometime. The end was kind of disappointing to me.
Oh.
But then Disney released like this, they released all these shorts based on these worlds. And the short for Soul is a perfect end to the movie. I don't know if they did that on purpose, but I was like, okay, I am satisfied. I'm satisfied with my care.
Baymax.
So we talked about it a little bit in the first episode, but Porto Rosso is kind of this fictional town built off of the names Porto Venere and Monte Rosso, and these are towns in Italy.
Is the town based on those towns or just the name?
Just kind of the name is one of the biggest things that they were talking about. But it kind of reminds me of the idea of getting to Big Hero 6 Baymax and the town of San Fransokyo. And I think it's really cool when you can take...
I was like, how does Baymax? Don't you mean like Big Hero 6?
Yeah, Big Hero 6.
I was like, Baymax, what does that have to do with
My brain
cities?
just went, whew. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of tangents on the show, by the way, but kind of going and connecting it to other stories. So with that, you have the town of San Fransokyo. I think it's really cool when you can create this physical town because you don't have to be totally by the book. This is what it looks like on the map. This is what we're doing. You can change it up a bit and you can just make your own town that helps build the story. So I think they did that really well. The other thing that I really liked with world building was with the stuff that they did under the water. And as the movie was starting and they had the little fish and it like bleeded, that's like what goats do.
Oh,
like the bat.
Yeah. Goatfish.
I was captured by that. I was like, yes, this is awesome. And how they were harvesting seaweed and kelp. That's like beautiful. I was watching with my
farmer fish.
Yeah, I was watching with my friend Everett, and we're just like, yes, this actually makes sense. This is like what would be going on. It's really cool. So you have these goatfish, and they're kind of similar to regular goats on the land. Like they have a lot of mischief, and they're actually based on a real fish. They don't look anything like they do in the movie, but
they're based on a fish that acts like a goat.
No, the fish is called the goatfish.
Oh,
yeah, and it doesn't look like they do in the movie, but I think it was still pretty cool. The other thing with world building that they did in here was the gelato and summers in coastal towns, and those were things that the director Enrico Casarosa wanted to really work into the story because those are things that meant something to him. And I think that was really cool because there's been things like that in my life that mean something to me that maybe are kind of, they don't seem super meaningful. For instance, instance, one of those things is like Italian ice on the 4th of July. That's something that's like part of my life, and it means something to me. And I think it's really cool how he was able to work gelato and coastal towns into this story. He's not just making a story like to make a story, but he's making a story to tell his own story. And I think that was really cool that he was able to do that. So were there any things with world building that you really liked, like things that you saw
like specific to this movie?
Yeah,
I don't know. Well, one interesting thing I noticed is like they pretty much isolated it to like only this town. Like you never saw any other towns or anything. Like it was just like this little town was it on an island? I think it's just on the coast.
Yeah, I think it was just on the coast.
And also like an interesting thing is they don't show much of like the sea monsters. It's just like his family.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
There's no like sea monster town. There's no like it doesn't show much of the sea monster culture, which is interesting. I'm not upset about it because it focused more on like, you know, being above ground because it was so different of like where Luca had come from. If it was just like daily life of sea monsters, like okay, I mean, sure.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I love that idea when you're taking someone from a totally different culture or life and putting it in. That's why modern fantasy is so cool to me, because I want to see these fantasy characters coming into a modern world and like reacting to things like root beer floats and
like
donuts.
Are there examples of that?
So I can think of one example. It's on like BYU TV, and it's called Dwight in Shining Armor, but it's like these people from medieval times come in and experience these things like donuts and brownies. The reason why I like this is I served a mission, and one of the missionaries that I served with, he was from the Dominican Republic. And he had never experienced a lot of the things in America, like root beer floats and things like that. And the emotions on someone's face when they've tasted that for the first time, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool to see that.